push-ups. I've been doing sit-ups. I've been doing chin-ups. I've been doing pull-ups. I threw up once, but I'm okay now.
What's up? Welcome to a Friday edition of the Ysn Power Hour. We got Richie over there and DJ on this side of the table. Hope you guys are having a great Friday. It is a phenomenal sports Friday, although there's not a whole lot going on from the news standpoint, Richie. There is a lot going on the diamond. We saw the Steel Valley Storm earlier on YSN, which is why we didn't have a running point. We just got done with the Casual Sports Podcast, and now here, of course, the YSN Power Hour to get you up to date and informed on everything going around here locally. And the only thing that we can find going on in the world right now is the College World Series, which interesting score right now, as you pointed out, a little bit of a shellacking and an upset bid on the Ocho, as it is right now. Oh, 8-3 now. Okay, a 3-run bomb, and you know what number he's wearing? 31.
There you go.
Don't mess around. Don't mess around. 8-3 Oklahoma over Texas A&M, bottom of the second inning, in case you were wondering. Can't show it to you because that's highly illegal and frowned upon in just about every single state in the country. So there's a thing called copyright that we try to maintain a little bit of integrity. And unlike other places, you like that?
You love that.
I do love that. It is time for On This Day in Sports History. We got an interesting one today, do we not?
We do.
I'm excited. Here we go. Roll it. Okay, you ready? Because this one is interesting to you, but you weren't even born yet when this happened. No. So... And it just makes me cringe a little bit because I feel so old. It happened in 1994. On this day, which I remember watching it on television. And I remember the way it ended in the courtroom. In 1994, O.J. Simpson does not turn himself in on murder charges. LA police chase his Ford Bronco for 1.5 hours before he eventually gives up. It was seen on live TV. OJ, just the craziest trial. And I can't even put words to it from the standpoint of comparison to anything I've ever seen before, except for just recently. Obviously, completely different charges, completely different. But the Depp trial and the OJ trial had so many similarities just from a celebrity standpoint that it captivated an entire nation. And there wasn't Twitter or Facebook or social media to keep up with it. So you had to rely on the news. And at that point, the news was kind of like upfront and tried to be right down the middle and neutral. And nowadays, you've got 60 different cycles that you can look on. When did you first learn about the O.J. Simpson thing?
Well, I mean, it's one of those things, like, even though you're not born and you're not alive during that time, you still know what it is and you still know what happened just because of how many historical documents are out there. They put a whole new series out there. I mean, it's seen all over the world with his Ford Bronco. I mean, every time you think of a Bronco, you think of O.J. Simpson,
It's
right?
true.
So, I mean, it's one of those things, like, even though you're not alive, you still know what happened. You've seen the videos and you've seen all the archives of that event. It's almost like you were living during that time. And there's a couple other historical, pieces that I could say I wasn't alive during, but I know what happened just because of how much is out there right now.
I mean, you were
social media.
2 years old for 9/11.
I was going to say that, but it's, kind of a touchy subject.
Sure.
9/11. I was 2 years old. I don't know where I was during that time, like a lot of people do. but I know what happened. I've seen so many videos. I've read so many documentaries, and, you know, everything's on YouTube nowadays. You could go down the rabbit hole on YouTube and find a million things. And, you know, I get caught with that here and there because I'm a historic buff. You know that. So I like my history. And, you know, I watched the whole thing about the Navy SEALs going in and, you know, killing Osama bin Laden. I have seen their documentation and all the reports that they read up, and they released like 100+ pages of that whole search and everything they found. Like his entire workshop was in his house, the $100 million compound that he had there in Afghanistan. So it was pretty cool. But
there's a lot of stuff. And it's crazy to me because I think everybody was there. Like if I was there, everybody was there. I still think of myself as like a 12-year-old kid, right? So if I know about it, then everybody knows about it. Like Columbine, the biggest, you know, one of the biggest school shootings ever. Like I remember it vividly because I was in school when it happened. You weren't born.
No, I wasn't.
And it's crazy to think about because you're so wise beyond your years. And I'm not trying to stroke your ego. It's just you are a history buff. So some of these things you know more than I do about it, because I'm just like, I look at you and I'm like, wow, he knows more about 9/11 than I do. You know, the Osama bin Laden stuff. I've got no clue. And you're talking, I mean, but you also, we give Ty a ton of credit because Ty is he's got a photographic memory.
Ty's unbelievable.
But you also are very sharp, like sharp as a tack when it comes to that stuff. I'm sorry if my mic's up too loud. I didn't have the headphones on because we can hear him from freaking Poland. Anthony says that he's got sensitive hearing. I call shenanigans.
He's got sensitive hearing because he can't hear me. Turn those babies on. I'm like, I could hear that from here, clear as day. If I put those on, I'm going to blow my ears out.
Richie's living in the woofer right now. So when it comes to all this stuff, I mean, you have an elite ability that people don't realize, that you can remember like innings, games, scores, plays, calls, all that stuff that I do it, and 5 minutes later it's gone.
It's gone.
I can't do it. And you can remember like all the way to like your first broadcast.
Oh, for sure. I mean, my first broadcast from the football side of things was the Penn Ohio game, but my first real broadcast on Ysn and my first ever live broadcast was a doubleheader, and you and Steve Leslie did the first game, and then Christina Stanovich and myself did the second game. They did lose that game in extras, but it was a pretty good game.
Yeah.
Great experience.
This is unbelievable.
So, I mean, I do remember everything, and it's kind of weird. I can remember games when I was 8 years old, and, you know, I was playing against my cousin in Austin Town Fitch. Ball was dribbled in front of the plate. You know, he was the catcher at the time. He went out to get it. By the time he came back, we scored the game-winning run. And I just remember things like that. I don't really know why, but it's just, you know, we talked about that photographic memory for Ty. I kind of have that same thing where I could almost relive that moment in my head. And, you know, I could see it happening. Like if I would close my eyes, I could see it happening like it's real life. It's really weird. Like
awesome.
I remember us in the box at LSU when that kid hit the home run.
See, I remember being there.
Yeah.
I remember the trip. I can't remember vivid moments.
Oh, I remember walking out of the left field gate when we got there and looking up in the stands, and Kenny Missick told the guard, "We'll see you back in June."
I do remember that. Now that you say that.
Series, and then we walked out, and then you look up, and I remember that vividly. Yeah.
I remember walking in
the night before.
Yep. But like moments like that are just where they used to be very clear, like crystal clear. At 37, I shouldn't have to like paint the picture, you know, anymore and try to remember it. They should just be there. But I think it's either part of getting old or it's part of just having so many of those moments that it's almost embarrassing to say that. But your recollection is amazing. Your recall is beyond measure. And that's why it's so funny, because you can remember those. You rattled off the call.
Yeah, I can
just
tell
now
you exactly what happened.
Okay, go ahead.
So, I mean, we're in the 9th, and Gary Cliff Jr. is our closer. They reach base with a free pass. I remember Gary Cliff throwing over twice, and our first baseman came off the bag. It was Pad. Pad came off the bag twice to make the catch. And I remember you saying, Gary Cliff Jr. has to focus on the batter here because the next ball that he's going to throw is going to go down the line. And you called this perfectly. I mean, you were a great analyst that game. The next ball he throws down the line, that runner goes from first to third. Kay Doty, who's the batter, steps in, and he drills one into left field. They win it. And I just remember it just like sitting there And we just like looked at each other and we were just like this. We were just like, oh my goodness. Like,
do you remember what?
I can't believe that
Well,
just happened.
You probably can't share what we said during the break after it all came undone. But
yeah, no, I can't.
No, but there was. He remembers it. We just can't share it right now because it's not suitable for kids. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So when you think of that stuff, what's your most vivid memory? Like, it's hard to say most memorable. What's your most vivid memory that you want to delete from the memory banks from a call or a game that you played?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh, I'd have to say when Talmadge laid down the sacrifice. Suicide squeeze. So we're playing our third baseman deep. This lefty comes up. There's a runner at third and there's one down. Nobody was expecting him to bunt because he's a great hitter. So our third baseman's playing behind the bag. And I remember the pitch coming in and he's just it's like it's almost like a safety squeeze. And he bunts it down the third base side. And Jack Rayfith was pitching at the time. He picks the ball up and it was to his right. So it's down the third base line. And the runners, he's probably going to score if you throw it. Yeah. So, Jack, being an intelligent pitcher that he is, he takes the out at first.
Yeah.
But that scores the go-ahead run, and they won the game 3-2. And that's how we lost the game on a safety squeeze. But I just remember that play, and it was like we just came in the dugout. We're like, why are we not playing our corner in?
Yeah.
Like, it's just one of those plays that you just don't think that's going to happen. Who's going to put a safety squeeze on in the regional final in a tie game,
This is interesting. We're playing like with Richie like he's a toy right now because he's got that unbelievable recall. So here's my question, because I think one of my superpowers in broadcasting is that I can read the room a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
If it's like we did BCB this week, we did the 10U and the 12-year championship, and understanding kind of who's watching.
Yeah.
Shout outs, lots of names,
mm-hmm.
all that stuff, and being able to read the situation, right? You have again, uncanny recall ability. Do you almost rely on the game happening and then being able to recall it, innings later? Because I'll be honest, there's things that happen in the first inning that I forget about in the fifth.
Yeah, that's big for me. I can remember. It's weird. I can remember if that guy got a base hit on a 3-1 count into center field on a curveball in the first inning, and I could say it back in the seventh inning.
Is it same with football too? In basketball?
Football's a little bit different, actually. So football, I don't remember as much. I don't know why, but because baseball, I know it so well, and I could, put pictures and faces to certain memories that happened earlier in the game. But football, for some reason, there's so many people on the field that you almost forget about certain things. So I always tend to write things down when it comes to football. Like, say Michael Crawford had a 15-yard touchdown, I'd write that down, 15 yards right side, whatever. Yeah. So I'm always like logging my games. I do write the score down in baseball, and I keep my own game, but it's just weird. I remember counts. I can remember what pitch was thrown. It's really weird.
But a lot of your stuff is preparation, and you prepare better than it. You are the Peyton Manning of YSN when it comes to preparation. I see myself as more of a Tom Brady from that standpoint. Because listen, if I know the game, if I know the defense, I know that it's not necessarily preparation. I know that I can score.
Oh, yeah.
You're a guy that whatever is happening, you're prepared for it. And you prepare for like 6 games. Mm-hmm. That's only going to happen one game.
Yeah.
But the recall has to help you with that.
Oh, for sure. And I think, going back to preparation, I think if I'm not prepared, I don't feel like I'm going to have a great broadcast. And I know, like, for you always have a great broadcast when you show up and, you just do your thing and you're yourself and you're comical. Like, we were up in the booth and you're making the AD laugh at Canfield, and, Mike Pavlansky was up there and they were laughing as well. So I think you're really good with stuff on the fly, just like bang, bang. Right. And you have so many like funny jokes and so many like things that you could compare plays to and people to. But for me, it's more of, I got to be prepared,
right?
Or else
you feel naked.
Yeah. Or else I'm like going in there like almost kind of nervous.
Yeah. So how much preparation? And I think this is a question that a lot of people have. We're here with Richie Giuliano, obviously one of the mainstays here at YSN. How much preparation do you think you put in average per game?
Yeah. Probably about, if I'm prepping for a series. So on Monday, we got the Scrappers playing Trenton. I haven't seen Trenton yet. Scrappers just got a new shipload of players in. So I'll probably spend about 4 hours on that game. But it's easier once you do the first one, because then it's probably about an hour and a half after that. Because then you just go through and, what happened here or what happened there. I always try and, give on Monday, which will be the first game of the series opener, like, okay, this guy like Zach DeZenzo, he was from Ohio State. He played his high school ball at Marlington. And he was, one of the All-State players and a great player there. And he's now playing in the Valley. Like that stuff I'll probably nail on Friday. Saturday is more like, okay, at Ohio State, he finished the year batting 500 in the last month. It's more like trends and stuff and what he's done in the last 2 weeks for Mahoney Valley.
So one of the things that I've come across over the 5 years that we've been doing this is when you have one team, it's a lot easier to prep.
So much easier.
Like when it was just South Range that I had to call the games for.
Yeah.
I had the heavy preparation was before the first game.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're pretty much just trying to concern yourself with the other team the rest of the way. Do you feel the same way? And how do you prepare yourself in a world full of we're hiding numbers?
Yeah.
And especially like we've talked about it, and it's no surprise, and it's not the scrappers' fault. The MLB Draft League doesn't do the best job of giving you statistics and that stuff. We had that problem last year. We're trying to fix it. We're trying to help. And obviously the scrappers are trying to help. But how do you prepare yourself? Do you have to actually go back and look at games?
Game by game. And, it's probably going to get more difficult as the season goes on. So, they do give us game day stats, so, average, all that, everything you need. But, when it comes to trends and stuff like that, for YSU, you could go on and you could see every single game that they played on their website. But, for the scrappers, they don't have that. So you got to go back game by game and see what they've done. So when they played West Virginia for the second time, I went back, each individual guy and saw what they did against West Virginia the day before or, the weekend before. So, for example, Buck Anderson was 7 for 15 in the series against West Virginia the first time around. Now, I present those numbers and those stats the second time around. So I went back and I looked game by game and, saw what he did. And same goes for West Virginia, too. It's not just like I'm doing it for the scrappers. I'm doing it for both.
And West Virginia's been in town twice now.
They've been twice.
Yeah. And so your prep's a little bit easier because it's kind of the same deal as with the scrappers. You're familiar with them. You know their lineup. It might be a pitcher or two that you're not familiar with, but you're able to recall what they did in a certain game and things of that nature.
Yeah.
I think I don't want to say it's the easy part, but people look at like when we go to a game and let's say that it's let's pick one. Let's go Boardman versus whoever, right? Boardman versus Jackson. Okay. Boardman's our team. We're familiar with the kids. We're familiar with the positions. Jackson sometimes, and I'm just pulling Jackson hasn't actually done this, but sometimes they'll call us, they'll send us messages, hate mail, whatever it may be. And they'll say, my kid was such and such, and you called this kid's name. And it's not preparation or lack of preparation, right? It's just the game happens so fast.
Yeah, it's infamiliarity with the team.
Like if a kid in football and in all sports, sometimes they change numbers and they don't inform the announcer.
No, they do not.
So when they're sitting there and you're calling a name or a number and it's the wrong kid, I don't want to say don't yell at us because it's free country. It's why we live in America. But the end all be all is sometimes we're not getting the communicado that we deserve.
I mean, the same thing happens at Bobstein Park too. I mean, there's guys that, fill in on certain nights and there's so many scratches in the lineup because coaches try and prep their lineup before they get there. And then they show up and they're like, oh, well, we had to switch. I don't know. Like last night, the prospects have 3 different changes throughout the game until first pitch occurred because they don't know who's going to be there.
Yep.
So they only had 10 guys available to play. So they're just interchanging guys and moving positions over. So Red and I up in the box were like scrambling and, scratching out names and putting new numbers and new positions. So, that happens all the time. And especially when you're doing an opposing team, like, when I do Youngstown State baseball, I could look out in left field and be like, oh, there's Andre Good playing left. Right. He was in the lineup as a DH today, but late addition, he's in left field.
Yeah.
When I'm doing, Purdue Fort Wayne and I've seen them 3 games, I'm like, well, I don't know who that is. Like
Parker could do.
Yeah, that could be Parker could do it.
He transferred.
Could be Steve Leslie out there at center for all I know.
And it might as well be. All right. So one of the things that we do here at YSN and like, again, I don't feel like we need to brag about our what we do and who we are. People out there that are watching know exactly what we do or else they wouldn't be watching. But one of the things that we do better than anything is we are like a PR machine for these schools. And I think one of the biggest misconceptions is like when we go in, we're there to help you kind of promote your program and things like that. we don't necessarily want to do the job of the AD. We want to supplement the AD and the PR person and the coach and all that stuff. We want to help you from that standpoint. But the communication, I understand that we're different. We're unlike any animal that's ever been in the being of the Mahoning Valley. But I think that, not asking people to come to us and deliver us, like not say, hey, here's the lineup 10 hours before the game and to get ahead of it. But we've seen the benefits of coaches that do that, because then we can prepare a little bit more. Talk about that perspective and how much easier it makes your job and how much better you can do your job when you don't have to worry about going down 2 minutes before a game and then sweating the broadcast.
You're right. I mean, that's the biggest thing. So the first weekend for the Scrappers, right, they didn't have, a solid lineup put in place yet. They didn't know who was coming in, who was flying in. So, I kind of over prepared and made sure I had every single name on that roster. But then you show up and I was like, Michael Turner's obviously not going to be here. And there's some other players that, aren't on the squad right now. So West Virginia put out their starting lineup about 6 hours before the game. And it was like beautiful. I was on Twitter. I'm like, all right, thank goodness they did this, because I didn't have 4 guys on my sheet that are playing tonight because they didn't have them on the initial roster. So that was absolutely huge. And I thank them for what they've done on Twitter and posting their rosters ahead of time, because it saved me so bad when we were playing them the first weekend, because I was like, I don't have these 4 guys. Like, it's almost like panic mode, because that's 4 guys up to the plate where you don't want to have any dead time and you want to have their background. Because I try and get everybody, an even amount of airtime. And, I'm not, patting one guy in the back and then just pushing the other guy to the corner, So, I mean, I try and give everybody their amount of preparation and airtime just like any other player. So.
Well, when we do that stuff, it's a little bit different too. Like, we're not signing up school, but when we sign up schools, the first thing we say is, we're obligated to be positive 100%. And not that we want to be negative in the first place, but we're positive. Like, we're representing you, and you would never represent your players or your organization in a negative light.
Yeah.
And we say that we are homers, but you're in a different space with the MLB draft league.
Yeah, I can't be a homer.
No, you're right down the line. It's the same way as when we do these Boardman games, these little leagues. We're signed as a whole, as a league, and we don't kind of pick or choose. We're just celebrating the game kind of and trying to do it as evenly and as excitedly as we can. What is like? We're just going to go over kind of the broadcast side of it, because I think a little peek behind the curtain for some people on a Friday where you're just trying to listen to somebody to finish up your work week.
Yeah.
What are some of the challenges that you've faced from a standpoint of going into a broadcast and some of the things that, like, maybe some horror stories that people don't know about that you've had to, adjust on the fly and make happen, that you made it look like grease lightning simple?
Well, I think one of the most difficult parts of being a broadcaster at the high school level is you're going to be in a press box with people that are administrators of this school. And there's going to be points in the game where you're going to want to say something like, negative about the team, because it's just not, they're not playing well. They're getting beat 33-0. And you really got to focus on staying positive. And sometimes that could be the most difficult part of being a broadcaster in the high school level. Like, when you do college stuff, of course, you're sitting there in a box, usually by yourself, but that's not always the case. I've done a couple games in the league where I'm sitting right next to the SID of the other team. And it's like, well, they're hosting me, they're giving me a spot, and I don't want to say anything negative, even though they're 0 for 15 at the plate. So you try and turn it around and say, I don't know. I'll just say Purdue Fort Wayne again. Purdue Fort Wayne, because their SID was sitting right next to me. They're 0 for 16 against John Snyder with like 8 Ks. It's like, well, Purdue Fort Wayne kind of struggling here at the plate, but John Snyder's throwing a lot of good pitches. You try and make it sound like, the other team is doing so well that they're not doing great.
Exactly.
But that's one of the biggest challenges I faced, is when you're in the box with administrators. And that you've been in Canfield's press box. It's all one level.
Yep.
It's all one strip. There's nothing enclosed outside of the coaches' boxes on left or right. And that's another challenge too, because the coaches can hear us through that door.
Yep.
It's not like this brick here. I mean, it's a door. It's a plastic door.
Well, we can hear everything through.
Well, you can hear anything anyway. But that's another big challenge when you have coaches in the box with you. So I think staying positive and, not being too negative is one of the biggest challenges.
Sure.
But obviously another big one that I've kind of experienced is the lineups and the rosters. You know, I've shown up to a couple games where the AD's like, yeah, I'll get you the roster. And it's like 20 minutes before the game. And they're like, oh, I can't do this if I don't have a roster. Like, what am I just going to say? Number 5's running down the field,
Sure.
you know, like
we've done that.
And it's like, you're almost sweating bullets up there because you're just like, did he forget? Like, so that's one of the biggest challenges that I faced.
And that's, again, that's not the job of an AD or anybody to cater to us, but it's easier for us to do our job when we have people that are really good at their jobs provide for us. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying please, like we're not there to beg, but you know, we go on roster hunts the beginning of every season. So Quinn has already started on his roster egg hunt.
That's so huge the last 2 years.
Yeah. And being able to upload them and announcers are able to download them at their discretion. That's big, but it took us a while to get there and understand, because when you have 60 people that are doing a different game every week, but you know, we only have 24 of those rosters readily available, it's a challenge. Yeah. It's a challenge. And, you know, and now I got to say the biggest challenge is every baseball and softball season with changes and delays and all that stuff and cancellations.
Oh, it's the worst.
But COVID year and the year after COVID, 2020 and 2021, when they were canceling, my goodness.
They were canceling like every night.
It was probably the most challenging era. And I know that ADs were challenged, but ADs, I mean, ones that I can point out and call off by name were calling us and like, my gosh, like our job is tough, but for you guys to have 50 schools and have to stay up to date with it. I mean, we had guys going to games that were not happening, you know, and it was a communication problem, but it was also a communication problem that started way sooner than it ever got to YSN. You know, we did the best we could from a standpoint of keeping everybody up to date, but that era, that 2-year era, that moment in time, ADs had so much to do that the last thing they were thinking about was us. Yeah. You know, and understandably so. But some ADs and coaches have really embraced us being there. And I think it's really helped them. And, you know, 100%, and I don't think it's going to be a surprise to anybody, is South Range and their football program with Dan Yeagley being able to talk to coach every single week, not only bolstered his program. And, you know, people are always saying, well, why does South Range get all this attention? Because Coach Yeagley makes time for us.
They're willing to do it.
It's become part of his program of, okay, they're going to come and be there each and every week. They're going to give us the time and give us the coverage. Then we're going to give them kind of the leg up. And, you know, it goes back to, if you scratch our back, we scratch yours. And they did that from a very, very early point in YSN. And I think others have really caught on to that. And especially this baseball season, being on Running Point, being on Power Hour, on YSN in general, Rich, I think that, you know, coaches, administrators, athletic directors, superintendents are starting to figure out, hey, YSN is something. It's we're not just broadcasts anymore. It's a lot more than this. And this show, I think, is a direct correlation of that.
Well, I'll say the same thing with Mike Pavlansky. And we do that Coach's Corner every week. And, you know, thanks to Steve Koka and his entire organization for hosting us there and, you know, always making us feel welcome and always giving us that patio in the back there to have a great interview. But not only does he provide us with his time, and he's always there early, always talking to us, but he always brings a player every single week. And it's almost mandatory that his player comes in with, you know, khakis and a really nice polo, and they present themselves in a great manner to reflect his program. So I think it's those type of leaders like a Coach Yeagley, of course, who was just in the Hall of Fame, and, you know, Coach Pavlansky. And you see why those programs are so successful, not just because they're great coaches and because they've got great players, but the way they carry themselves off the field, and they're such great leaders and, you know, overall just great people. And I think that's what it comes down to. They respect everybody that they come across. And, you know, he even gave us his time in a playoff game. Yeah. You know, on the field with Mike Mickelson and our first ever sideline reporter for the football season. In a loss. After the game. Yeah. Which is something you and I stay away from. Yeah. Okay. They lost. All right. We're going to give you your space. But for Mike, and Mike's a veteran. Mike will know more or forgot more about broadcasting than I'll ever know. But he was adamant that he's going to go talk to it. Yeah. And you want to talk about a consummate professional, is Coach Pavlansky being able to address that situation minutes after
the horn sounds, and just a pro.
Yeah.
Acknowledged his kids, acknowledged the parents, acknowledged the program, and kept his chin held high. And not only did I have a ton of respect for him before that moment, but the amount of respect and just admiration that I had for him as a leader at that moment will last forever.
And it's not just those two coaches. There's other coaches that give us the time of day as well. And, I just talked with Andrew Sabella, who's the 16-year-old coach, and he's just about 20, 21 years old. So he's younger than me, but, he's still giving us his time. He's talking about he's got college courses and he's got to go work with his mom and pops at the Avalon downtown. And he's still working with the Astro Falcons as their manager. So it's not just those guys and the veterans. It's also a lot of the younger coaches around this area who spent a lot of time here. And I've seen multiple interviews you've done in the studio with, of course, a new East Palestine basketball coach who came in here the other day.
Yep.
He was one of the OGs of the Power Hour back in the day.
That was second place. That was silver medal in the Capri Sun chugging contest, only to Richie Giuliano, which we got to schedule out the Capri Sun chugging contest.
Yeah, but going back to your point, I mean, it's that same type of motto that you said, you scratch our back and we'll scratch yours. Like if you're going to give us the time, and there's multiple coaches, and I talked to Anthony Romo and he does interviews after every game. Some people are going to find you and some other people you're going to have to go find them. And that's just how it goes.
And that's part of the job.
Yeah.
I mean, some people want that exposure. Some people want that interview, and some people will do anything to stay away from you, whether they win or lose.
Yep.
And, like from our standpoint, we've acquired so many clients in our schools and in our organizations, and we feel like we've done well by the majority of them. And I think that in today's day and age, you have to be careful because there's a lot of greed out there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of greed out there. And obviously there's a lot of people that think that, we're making a ton of money doing what we do. And we can tell you otherwise, there's a lot of money still left on the table, and there's a lot of meat left on the bone for us. But in a land and in an awareness of knowing kind of where we're at and what we are still able to accomplish. And you think about football season gives me the biggest heartburn every time I think about it, but it's the biggest triumph of our season in week 16. When you look back and you go, we did how many games?
Yeah.
And, we didn't miss one, or this is the amount of that we did. We've never hit below 95% of our games, which is a pride thing for us. There's people that will be out there and they'll say, well, we lose gate because of YSN. And I'm here and I can look dead in the camera and tell you there's no evidence of that. In fact, I can tell you the other way. There's two sides to every story, where we're here to get people pumped up about the programs and everything like that. Your kids, your communities, that there's people from other communities that are coming through your gates, paying hard-earned money to watch your kids because we've pumped them up because they've given us an opportunity to do so. So when we look at that aspect of it, it's a give and take.
Yeah.
It's just like everything is. It's a give and take. And, there's stickers on this wall that are all in. And there's stickers on this wall that are kind of like 50-50, which is okay. But, it's one of those things that we ask when we go into it is, how do you feel good about your coverage? And I'll be 100% honest with you and say 100% of athletic directors or people that we ask always say no. And that's the smart thing. Can you ever get enough coverage for your programs? The answer is no.
No.
Because to me, in my world, why I created and why we are part of YSN is because there is not enough coverage.
Yeah.
There wasn't enough coverage. There's still not enough coverage. And people laugh because they're like, oh, well, this news team is doing a game this week. Does that bother you guys? No, we want as much coverage. I want every newspaper, every podcast, every news channel, everybody to go do as much as they possibly can for these student athletes. That's why we're here. I mean, if we're not here to do it, we're here to raise the bar. And if there's 50 other people that want to, or 50 other organizations that want to become YSN and give these kids more coverage, God bless you. I would be excited to see that.
Yeah.
Do I think that anybody can do it the way we do it? Not now. I think they're
Probably
too
not.
far behind the Oregon Trail.
Yeah.
to keep up with what we're doing. And we just keep blazing that path because we got guys like you and Steve and Quinn and, the list goes on and on. Anthony and Ty and Romo, who, man, that kid, you want to talk about the most underrated kid or person at YSN. Romo's, he's him.
He's doing everything. Like I said, I mean, he does every post-game interview. Even when I'm with him, he's like, I'll take the interviews. I'm like, I know he loves to do them, so I'm not going to fight him for it. Go ahead.
He asks the questions, man. Yeah, he's good at that.
He's good at it, and he's done it a time or two, and he's done some big ones, and he's done some small ones. But, overall, I think he's going to be a great asset coming up. Hopefully I can get him in the booth with me. I know he's fighting to go other places just because he loves being a play-by-play broadcaster. So we'll see how that shapes out. But either way, I mean, I'm going to support him, and he's going to do a great job wherever he's at. And, hopefully we could get him at a big-name school.
As much as I love you guys being together, having two awesome broadcasts with two great play-by-play guys,
it's difficult.
It is challenging. But it's one of those things you look at and you go, man, well, you guys have the A team, right? You're the A team. But if we can get two like A- teams, you know what I mean, and do two games, that's big. And I think you both also compete against each other. And you kind of, and because you're always asking for, what were our numbers? What were our numbers? So it's fun. It's fun. It's just one of those things like, man, I don't think people know and understand kind of what we do. They see the final product and it's okay because they're, they don't need to know. But when you know how the sausage is made a little bit, then you start, oh, okay, that's why, or that's how. And I think that's important because Richie, I mean, you are as close to a flawless broadcast as we're ever going to put out. And, when you say, hey, we have trouble, because you're a positive guy overall, 100% of the time, glass half full. But you and I have had conversations where we just kind of sympathize with each other. We're like, yeah, that's tough to overcome. And you kind of have to put the professional hat on and say, the show must go on, however crazy it may be. I've lost video before, where you're halfway through a game or a quarter way through a game and you just have to go into radio mode.
You go radio mode. Yeah, I've had that happen before too.
It's awful. It's absolutely, because you call Brian and he's like, there's nothing I can do.
I'm done. Like,
my
camera battery died once at a Cheney basketball game, and I ended up doing the radio broadcast for the Cheney Cowboys game. But
you have to finish it.
But at the end of the day, and feeding off of what you kind of said, summarizing this entire topic here, I mean, we're basically out there to promote these programs
100%.
At the end of the day. I mean, for all the athletic directors out there and all the coaches, I mean, we're not going in there to bash you, right? I mean, we're there to supply memories for not just the players, but for their parents and their family. Because, my brother had his graduation party, and, one of the main things that was on his table, when you go down, is his article of his Golden Bat Award.
Oh, man.
It was on the table, and, the picture of the graphic that you guys made, and, his entire story was laminated right there on the table. So
that's awesome.
It's those kind of moments that, make us feel proud here at YSN. And, at the end of the day, when we travel long places and long distances, we're just there because, we love doing what we do. And, we love the student athletes and, all the coaches that have given us the time. And, at the end of the day, for all the athletic directors, I mean, you're doing us a service, and, we're just trying to
make it up to you. Yeah. And for anybody that ever wanted to know if there was a mascot of YSN and what it resembled, it's that guy over there. Because you talk about the constant long travels. I mean, you are the road dog.
Yeah.
I mean, you've gone to Louisiana twice.
Yeah.
You've gone all over the God's green earth with Youngstown State. And obviously you've done anything we've ever asked you to do, whether you're comfortable with it or not. And, that's why I think when we look back at the last month, 2 months of conversations, it means more than anything that you have, because let's face it. Can we put it out there? You could have gone anywhere you wanted. You could have gone anywhere you wanted, and you chose us, and you chose everybody out there because you believe in what we're doing, because you're the face of the franchise here. You are the guy. You are the guy. You are the man who we want to be representing YSN. And we're so proud of you because you've been here since your freshman year in college. And we've watched you grow up right before our very eyes, and watched you turn into from a young man who stepped into, that doubleheader and was able to do it, to a guy who watched us grow as well. I mean, you've seen a lot of stuff on your side.
Oh, yeah.
Where you're like, wow, I don't think we had this 4 years ago.
No. No.
And we're just grateful. And I think at the end of the day for us, it's just continue to grow. And there's going to be some trips and stumbles, but I promise you, we're always going to stand up and we're going to stand up for people and programs that we believe in, no matter what that looks like. Our goal is to do right. And maybe sometimes we're going to sit there, like I said, and trip up, but we will correct our course. And guys like Richie Julian are going to be the guys that are at the front of the pack. So if you're out there and you've never been a part of YSN, or maybe you've been a part of YSN and it was on the other side where it was a YSN school that you were playing and you're wondering how to get involved, for schools, it's absolutely free. We are not charging schools. We understand that the budgets are tied up, and we don't feel that you should have to worry about getting coverage for programs and your kids. All you have to do is reach out to us on our social media page. You can reach out to any of us directly, and we'll make sure, Richie's in on social media now. So we'll make sure that you get taken care of. And again, we're looking to add schools. We're looking to add exposure to these programs. Our all-star games, we got 2 coming up next week. When you think about, you have an automatic spot in these all-star games. You have kids that are asked to play in these all-star games, represent your school in front of teams and players that they would never, ever would play during their career as a high school athlete. So we want more. We're always looking to add bricks to the wall, quite literally. And we want to add your name as well. If you're an organization, we've been asked, especially with fast pitch and travel this last couple weeks, how do you get involved? Organizations that are for profit, we ask for a very small, call it a donation, right, of service. And that's enough to cover the travel and the expense of the announcer. And that's really it. And then we get you on. And then we have these awesome scoreboards, and getting you involved with Game Changer makes it 10 times easier, especially with our partnership now. So there's a lot of stuff that we can do. So if you're out there and you're Pop Warner football or flag football or travel softball, AAU, things of that nature, and you want more exposure for your players, maybe as something as a marketing tool, let us utilize that. Let us help you and supplement what you're trying to do and bring it out to the world, because I promise you people are going to watch. Because if there's one thing in the world people watch when they can't do anything else, it's sports.
Yeah.
Sports. Hands down. And we do a lot of watching sports all the time. We're going to do it in about, 15 minutes or so, right after this show's over. But we have to take a break. We come back. I want to spend a little bit of time on where we're going to be tonight. Yeah. And that is Struthers, Ohio, and why we're going to be in Struthers, Ohio. All that and more. And of course, our Joe Dickey Electric, What's Your Spark, when we come back on the Ysn Power Hour.
It's a new year at Acura of Boardman and Boardman Mitsubishi with huge savings on over 350 fully inspected vehicles. We have cars, trucks, SUVs, minivans, and work vehicles. We don't have it, our team will find it. We aim for 100% credit approval with payments as low as $99 per month. And as always, we'll pay top dollar for your trade. For a great vehicle and a great experience, come see why everyone is stopping by at Acura Boardman and Boardman Mitsubishi.
You're not waiting to see what the world has in store for you. It's more about what you have in store for the world. All you need is the opportunity. All you need are the resources of a large university and the advantages of a personalized academic setting, where you can experience new worlds in the arts and sciences, business, and education, and make them your own. We are where you shape your future. We are Youngstown State University, and proud.
Being able to have success on the football field and the basketball court and just every aspect of, my sports career is now documented. One of the greatest things about high school sports is to be able to talk about it for the rest of your life and to look back on the days with my buddies whenever we had some battles, whether it was with our rival or just another game, and I could go back and look at it, and not only myself but my family members, my teammates, and it's something that will last a lifetime. My name is Parker Sherry, and my sports network is your sports network.
It's storm season.
I think we're under the gun for some heavy storms over the next couple of hours.
And Storm Tracker 21 is ready.
This is probably the one we're keeping a closer eye on.
On air.
And locally, we're going to have a lot of eyes on our area.
Online.
All right, let's talk high-risk Futurecast and the timing of this weather.
On social media and on our app.
Notice we'll have scattered showers on Thursday.
Stay ready with Storm Tracker 21.
The severe weather threat now through around sunset this evening.
Welcome back to Richie loves the Vladi Dotty Dotty. He likes to party. You got to take it up to get down. Scene Park tonight, celebrating officially. Now, because of COVID, they pushed back the 25th celebration and the anniversary of Bob Scene Park, which opened in 1995. As many know and remember, they've started renovations to the park, and they're going to continue renovations through the fall and throughout the year. Cannot wait, number one. But you and I, and hopefully, fingers crossed, Romo, if you're out there, get to Scene Park. Get there. We're going to spend some time tonight, have some quote unquote family time out at the ballpark, put the microphones in our pockets and say, hey, let's spend some time with the people and shake some hands and kiss some babies. It's going to be a good time. The 25th anniversary celebration of Bob Scene Park, and Struthers is incorporating themselves into it because of their partnership with Scene Park now, and some of the things that they're going to do together. There's going to be food trucks and vendors, and I'm actually excited to get there. It started at 2:00. They said it's going to last till 9:00 or so, and then fireworks after the game tonight. So Struthers is the place to be. Just, I mean, from your standpoint, I know that you came in all jacked up and excited. And what are you excited for most about tonight?
Well, I think it's to get back to, Bob Scene Park, and, the Scene family is probably going to be in attendance tonight. So I can't wait to thank them and, thank them for all that they did, because I played at Scene Park when I was a kid as well. And, what they have done for not just the Struthers city, but the entire community, because when you look at it, everybody stems from Bob Scene Park. Yep. I mean, Western Pennsylvania, you got kids from Cleveland area, from Akron, from Youngstown, everywhere.
East Palestine.
Everybody comes from Bob Scene Park when they play as a kid. So, for the money that they dished out and the pretty favorable donation to build those 3 fields is pretty remarkable. And, they give back to the community and, to the youth's future, as they say on his monument that they built for him on scene number 1. So it's pretty cool. And I can't wait to go out there, see all the vendors. I saw them pulling in last night, because I had a 16U game at 7:30 last night. So they had I don't know what you call them, but there's one of those like dunk tanks, when you throw the ball at
you getting in?
And I might, if it gets pretty hot, I might have to hop in there.
Who would be the last person you'd want to see throwing that ball at the dunk tank?
Last person I'd want to see throwing it at the dunk tank. Colin Floyd, just because he's so accurate.
That's true.
So if he steps up there, I'm like, well, I'm just going to jump in myself.
What about Josh? If Josh grabbed a ball and said, I'm dunking you, brother, he'd miss.
No, he would make it just because I'm in there.
He'd race up and hit it if he missed it. What about Vital Cheese?
Yeah, well, Vital Cheese would probably break it.
That's true.
So that would be good, because then if he breaks it, I'm not doing anything.
You're done.
I'm done.
What's one? Because for those who don't know, Richie is a huge foodie. Like, can put away more food than anybody I've ever seen for someone his size. What's one thing you'd be excited to see tonight as a food person?
If they had cinnamon rolls.
Cinnamon rolls.
I'm a big Molnar cinnamon roll guy.
Okay.
So at the Canfield Fair, I always go there 3-4 times just because it's in my backyard.
Sure.
The Molnar stand is always at least 100 people deep.
Yep.
So when you get up there, man, you better be ready to go.
You're spotting up in line.
Yeah.
Now, are you a rides guy too? Do you get on rides at the Canfield Fair still?
Nah, not anymore. No.
When was the last time you got on the ride?
Probably like 2017.
Okay.
When I was like a junior in high school.
Okay.
Still riding a couple rides, not like the kiddie rides. Of course.
What if we did around the fair with Richie and we strapped a GoPro to you?
Oh, that'd be pretty cool.
Would you get on the kiddie rides? If you had to do, if we got your wristband and you had to do every single ride at the Canfield Fair,
so
and you and you had to eat the Molnar cinnamon roll, we'd pay for it, but you'd have to eat the Molnar cinnamon rolls throughout the time. How many rides do you think you'd last if you went 1 for 1 ride to 1 cinnamon roll? How many rides would you last before the ultimate reversal?
If I'm on the zipper, it would not be long. Because those are the steel cages that flip. You know what I mean? The thing that rotates and they flip.
Those are dangerous.
I have seen, and I have been on that ride where it has had to come to a halt because of
somebody yak
projectile vomit.
Oh, man. Did you get? Oh,
no, I didn't
okay.
get sprayed.
All right. I mean, that's always the next question, right?
Oh,
Everybody's thinking it. I just have to say it. I'm the people's champion.
It's like the Sandlot.
Oh gosh. Dun, dun, dun,
Except
dun,
I wasn't
dun,
having a big chaw in my mouth.
tequila. Have you ever thrown up on a ride? Ever in your life? Neither have I.
No.
Not even after. Like rides don't get me.
No, rides don't get me either. I love rides. I mean, I haven't been to Cedar Point in like 3 or 4 years, but I love Cedar Point.
Maybe that's the play. Maybe we'll do the Canfield Fair and then we'll go to Cedar Point and
see, there you go.
Yeah.
Strap a GoPro on my head there.
Yeah. Well, first, I don't even know how we can get a GoPro on you without it looking completely goofy. Like,
people will be like, "What the world is this guy doing?
Why is that redheaded fella in a helmet? What is it? Why is he keep eating cinnamon rolls?" Oh my gosh.
I'll put it on your head then. We'll go together and you can wear it.
Oh my gosh.
We'll strap it right to that hat. That hat's gonna go flying.
I just want to like. All I could see is you in a helmet with the GoPro on it with like overalls, and that's it. Like no undershirt. That's it. Just the overalls, and happily giving your tickets to the carny guy and getting on the ride on the Zippo, as they say. We had a run in at the fair this year, and there was only like 2 rides that our son could get on, and he's 4 and he's tiny. Yeah. So the one ride he could get on, it's like the one with like, it's got like the old looking cars and just goes in circles, right? Kind of like the what's the horses, but it's their cars instead.
Like
so
the carousel.
Carousel, yes. Yeah. So is it merry-go-round? Put the quarter in the merry-go-round. Yep. Okay, so he gets on the first time, no problem. Second time, Sarah's watching, and all of a sudden she has this inquisitive look on her face. I'm like, "What's wrong?" She goes, is that ride smoking?" And sure enough, right in the middle, that baby is just pumping out, and you can smell it after about 2 seconds, and it smelled like a belt. Yeah. Like if you're familiar with your riding mower and your belt breaks or it's rubbing, you could tell, it was. Yeah. And so we got Z, and we're like, "Come on, it's time." And there was another one right behind it. Do you remember the tilt-a-whirl?
Yeah.
Like, okay, so it was like the tilt-a-whirl, but it had strawberries instead of like the actual tilt-a-whirl. So we were going to put them on that one.
The strawberries like bounce up and down.
Yeah, it was just like the tilt-a-whirl, but it spins too. Yeah. So we were going to put them on that one. And a little boy came over and he goes, it sounded like a kid from The Simpsons. He's holding his head and he goes, "I think I got a concussion." And we both looked at each other. We're like, "All right,
we're out of here."
Sorry.
Let's get an ice cream cone.
That's it.
The parking lot.
Get him. Let's go get a cinnamon roll if they're still around. That daggone kid in the overall has been eating cinnamon rolls all day. I forget what we ended up getting. Oh, we got a Sarah's big into the what is it called? I'm a elephant ear guy. Yeah. And she doesn't like that. She likes the other one. She's yelling it at the computer right now. The fried dough with the powder on it. Funnel cake. She's big into the funnel cakes. Doesn't
They're
like
the same, aren't they?
I thought so too, but she says no because it's a different texture. Okay. Like the elephant ear is crispy, and you can just rip it.
You rip it off, yeah.
Whereas it's the doughiness of the funnel cake that I think and the powdered sugar, of course. Yeah. But
they'll probably have those tonight for sure.
Well, I'm sure she'll get one. She loves it, and Z loves it now too. Yeah. And that was the. May I please have another? May I please? And like his mouth's still full. You can see him like chipmunking the funnel cake in his cheeks. May I please have another? May I please have an? And he's like, we told him if you ask nicely, yes, and you ask correctly, and it's better than some of the alternatives that he's given us in the past. But like when I gave him his juice the first day, that did not go well. Did not go well. That's a story for another time and probably late night YSN style. Let's get to our Joe Dickey Electric. Oh, by the way, if you're just joining us, get to Scene Park tonight. Get to I think it's free.
Yeah,
I think it's free
because the vendors are going to be outside the park itself.
So okay, but if you want to get in, it's still going to cost you, whatever it is at the gate. I think it's a couple bucks to get in.
I don't even know if they're going to charge.
I don't know if they do or not. Yeah. We don't get charged because we have the partnership. So it's I apologize for not knowing that, Probably something I probably should have prepped for before we pitched this, but
bring a few bucks.
I mean, if you're going to take part in some of that stuff anyway, it's good. And you always want to be able to donate. And the Scenes are doing this out of the love and compassion they have for the community. So there's going to be a huge fireworks show from what I understand. So make sure you get out there and enjoy the fireworks. I'm expecting this place to be packed tonight. I really am. So we'll be out there. Richie will be signing autographs all night. So make sure you bring your baseball, bring your favorite Richie Giuliano bobblehead. And if he doesn't have a bobblehead, maybe donate one to him because he's a huge bobblehead guy. So let's get to our Joe Dickey Electric. What's your spark? Presented by our friends in North Lima. Joe Dickey Electric. Anything commercial, residential, anything electrical, head to Joe Dickey Electric. I can't find this. There it is. Here we go. Boom. The Joe Dickey Electric, what's your spark? All right, Richie, go first. What's your spark today? Positive, negative?
Yeah, so first I'll start with positive, and I want to thank Brian Tolnar for having us out on Monday because we're not going to have a show. So, in advance, like to say thanks for having us out. Really looking forward to that. Mill Creek's very challenging course, and I think we're going to experience that, but we're going to have somebody to help us along the way, hopefully.
Quinn Pushkar?
Not Quinn.
Quinn is not going to help us at all.
Quinn is not going to help us at all, but, yeah, so I just want to thank him for having us out. We got the first tee time, which is a scary thing.
I'm terrified.
Because everybody's going to be behind us watching our first tee shot.
Terrified.
And that first tee shot does not bode well for my little tailing curve I got on my driver right now. Everything seems to go right, and there is nothing but pine woods to my right.
Guy, I listen. So first off, that's the most positive you've been about this experience, and all since we found out about it. Secondly, I have to tell you that when we signed up for this, and I love Brian for this because I have no idea what my actual handicap is because I'm just so bad. So he's like, hey, just get close to whatever. And I asked, what's the highest handicap you can have? So you guys, Quinn said 90 first. So we laid the base foundation with 90, which to me, that's not that bad.
No, I did shoot an 84 at reserve run the other day.
And then you said 90. And
but
then
90 is probably my average, yeah.
And I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay. And I wrote down 125. If I turn out to be better than 125, I'll surprise myself.
I wonder how that works. I wonder if it's like they take your handicap into consideration when they score it.
If they do, then we should be okay.
We should be in first.
Yes, we should be well in first. There's no money. There's no prize. And Brian Tolnar, again, his always takes care of us. I shouldn't say just now. He always takes care of us. He's one of the greatest partners you could ever ask for from a standpoint of a guy who loves the game of golf, wants to grow the game of golf, and wants to educate people on golf. Because I think that's the biggest thing is people are afraid to get educated. They just want to go out and hack. Mm-hmm. And, we're competitive people. You and I will compete. We'll compete on Monday. We're going to get blown out by whoever we're paired up with. So we're going to make it really clear don't hold yourself to our game. Like, go out and shoot whatever you do. We're excited because it's the youth. And I think Phil Mickelson has been part of this.
Really?
Yeah. Like back in the day.
I thought you were about to say he's going to be there.
Can you imagine?
Oh, boy.
If Phil Mickelson's there, I'll be like Andy Bernard and I'll have blisters on my hands from doing, I got some blisties. Yeah, you do.
I've been at the range for about 2 hours prepping for this.
Yeah, you have. But I got to get to the range.
Yeah.
Like I told Sarah, we got a packed weekend full of family stuff. Obviously, Father's Day on Sunday. Yeah. We've got a graduation party of Sarah's family on Saturday. And somewhere in between, I've got to get to the range because I'm not going to go out there on Monday, the first time I swing in a couple months. And because I haven't swung since April. So
since
you think
that golf outing.
Yeah. And by golly.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. And I wasn't good.
You're 2 months off.
Yeah.
Where's the closest range?
I'm going to go to Firestone.
Firestone. Yeah.
I'm going to go to Firestone.
I might hit up Firestone on that.
Do you have your clubs?
Yeah.
Let's go to Firestone.
Let's go.
All right. We're going to go to Firestone. That's going to do it for our show. There it is. Yeah. If you want to come out and hit some balls and prove how manly you are and be better than us, come on out to Firestone. We'll be there, apparently. We'll be back. We'll be back on Tuesday because we'll be at the AJGA Pro-Am. I don't even know if that's what it's called, but they're going to be better than we are. We're the amateurs for sure in that cart. So everybody have a great weekend. And again, happy Father's Day to all the dads out there, whether you are blood, whether you are in name, whether you are, you've been a dad for a pet, a dad for a minute, and a dad for a lifetime. Happy Father's Day to all of you out there. And if you're a son or daughter, make sure you hug your dads because you just never know when it's going to be the last Father's Day. God bless you all, and we'll see you all on Tuesday here on the Ysn Power Hour. Bye. Ysn thanks you for watching this presentation of